Miriam Joy, and welcome to my studio. Today we're going to be working on the shell flag. This is a great necklace for Memorial Day or the 4th of July or a nice festive summer piece. So this is done with shell, and this is similar to our other one, only we're going to bring in the 3 colors and use a little bit different crayon in the process. And let's get started. Alright, let's get started. First big thing we're going to do is we're going to divide our little flag part off. So we're going to make that little corner part, and then I'm going to bring this part straight across. And in this one it was hard to get all of these lines in here, so I'm not going to do as many lines. I'm going to do 2 white and 2 red on this one. So we've got that all divided off with our lines. So I just did one here, divided this in half, and then made this proportionate. So this one's just a little bit smaller right there. Take that one up just there. Alright, we're going to be using our little colored shell. And on mine I was fortunate enough to find a pearl in it. And you could use your pearl for like a little star. And if you wanted to add your stars, there's all kinds of fun brad things that you could find too with stars. Or just look for anything with stars, and you could glue it right in there as well while you're working. So we're going to be gluing our pieces on with E6000. And only put enough for the section that you're working on. And sometimes not even that whole section. You might even want to do part of it and then do the next part because it starts to dry out on you. Now E6000 is that real powerful heavy glue that glues rock to rock and stone to stone. Remember, you're not supposed to mess with it for the first 24 hours. And I'm trying to find a stone that I can kind of put into that corner. I don't know, I've got a real skinny part there. We'll see if I can leave that or not. And I'm also helps to use your tweezers. Helps with your stone. I'm still not convinced that that is my corner piece. Let's try something a little bit different. And you just start kind of piecing it together. Now, I also do have my wire cutters here because I do trim some of my pieces as well. And I might do that with this one to fit, because we're working with smaller areas. Just come in here and trim it. Just be careful with your eyes when you're trimming anything like that. Make sure you protect your eyes and don't get a spot that takes off. You want to also make sure that your glue is not so thick enough that it sticks up above. If it does, you want to kind of wipe that glue off. And we're just going to kind of start working our way towards the edges. There is no right or wrong on this. And sometimes you have to move a piece and try a different piece, and that's okay. And we're going to put some more glue back in it. And you don't want the pieces to hang over the edge so they don't catch on anything. So I'm going to see if I want to work with this piece or trim him down or what I'm going to do with him. I think I'll leave him right about there. That'll be okay. I'm going to get another little piece. See if that guy will fit into that little area without hanging over that edge. don't be afraid of the different heights and textures of the pieces. That's what really makes it unique and interesting. Got just a little bit too much room for that area, so I'm going to try him over here instead. Take that glue off because we're not going to glue down on that part right there. And all of these little sides. And when I'm looking at a stone, I look to see which looks more colorful or which side may be flatter to use. Different things I kind of look for in a stone. Or one with a pointed edge just like that one right there. So these other areas we're going to fill in with our little wax. Now we're going to use our tan shell in that section. And we do have kits available for you, so you don't have to buy all of the expensive parts. And another reason I didn't want to do these quite as small this time, they were really hard to fit them in, and I didn't want to cut the stones as much as I felt like I was going to have to cut the stones. So, and you always can do the edge and work your way in as well. Let's see, when you're working with these bigger rows, it's easier to fill the stones in. This one may be a little bit too big. We'll see if we can squish him in there. We might have to pull him back out. We'll see. Okay, so we got that row in. And let's just go to our red one right underneath it and work from that way. Instead of having to try and fit, sometimes it's easier just to keep going on. We're going to put some of our red out. And try and keep that as much of a line between the two colors as you possibly can. Just going to keep filling in here. If you can get that point up in there. See if I've got one that's a little bit fatter with a little bit narrower piece. And I need kind of a small one. I don't want to leave that much of an area open. So we're going to again trim this little piece. And don't be afraid to trim them. The thinner they are, the easier they are to break. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to get this guy. So let's do a other one over here. And that one went real easy, so just had that real tough piece. Okay, so we've got those rows. So then go ahead and just keep completing it till we've got that all the way down. And then we talked about how we have to let our glue dry for, it tells you to let it dry for 24 hours. You want it nice and dry because you're going to warm it up again as well. So we want to make sure that we get that really dry before we start to apply the wax. Now this one above us, obviously I've already let dry. So we're going to go ahead and start putting the wax on for him. Now what we're going to do is we're going to warm these pieces up first because they're nice and warm, so the wax flows into the crevices easier than if you just try to put the wax directly into them. And we're going to be using our eyedroppers on that part as well. So we're going to start with the blue section. Alright, so we've got that nice and warm, and I'm going to come over, and I've had my eyedroppers warming up in the blue. Now this is just blue with a little bit of white added to it, and you can use the metallic colors, but in this piece I wanted to bring the more vibrant colors to get the red, white, and blue. So I kind of wanted to do those nice and bright. Now, as you're working, you can either do this now or you can do this later. And you can use different items besides your fingers, but I think it's easier to use your fingers to get that layer of wax that is not in the cracks removed. And this is just like doing mosaic tile work or anything like that. We're going to get all the cracks in. And you can even use your hobby knife to remove some of the wax, but we want it nice and smooth when we're done. We don't want it to look like it's been cut, and we even want to get it up here on the edges. We'll come back and remove the extra edge part. Okay. And a lot of times what I'll do is I will stop and wash colors in between, but also if you have some baby wipes handy, you can keep those right there. I have my little helper hand me my baby wipes here, and get one of those layers off so we can work on the next layer. And this is another nice thing, is it removes some of that wax off. And you can also, if it didn't lay nice and even for you, also hit it with your heat gun as well again. Now I'm going to move it off the red. I don't want it on the red at all. In any areas that are too tall. So we make sure that that shines through. So now let's start working. And I am going to do my white first. And one of the reasons I'm going to do my white first is because it will pick up the other colors. So we want to do the white before we do the red again. And I'm trying to get this blue out of this area right here. So use our little eyedropper. And If you want glitter or anything like I talked about, you can do that. You can use the glitter colors. There's white in there with glitter in it, but I just want these to be more vibrant so that the red, white, and blue really shows through. Now what I'm going to do on this is I'm not going to do the blue. I've already done the blue here, and I'm going to do the bottoms of each row. Like this red, I'm going to do the bottom red here. This row, I'm going to do the bottom white here. This row, I'm going to do the bottom red, and then finish up with the white. So that's kind of my reasoning, because I don't want one color to kind of take over. And I forgot to preheat that, and that's the reason it's not going in the cracks as well. And you notice it really goes in the cracks so much better if it is preheated. So we want to always make sure that we have that. Oops, don't want it in the red. Nice and heated up. Okay, so now let's go ahead and come down. I want one little section I gotta get right there at the end. And heat up that next white section. And heating those stones, it stays warmed up for a while. So that's kind of nice. And remove all that extra. Make sure you leave that area on the edge there, that you don't wipe that away like I just did. Put that back on there. Okay. So we're going to go back up. We're going to start on our red now. If you're using the handy wipe here to help you make sure that you don't have a color part on it too. Heat that up just a little bit more. And on areas down in like that guy there, we can't get to real easy with our fingers or anything. We'll come in and clean him off with our cotton ball. I'm trying to get some of these other guys that are running around in our wax out of here. Trying to keep everybody in their designated areas. Alright, now let's go and heat our last red strip up. edges. Make sure you don't wipe so hard that you're wiping the ones in between, like I did a little bit right there. You still want to see your mosaic. There, you really want to have that in between. I'm going to remove this guy so I don't get way down in there and just clean him up. So we keep, I'll warm that just a bit to smooth it all out. And just keep working it back and forth till you get it right where you want it. These little boogers out of your way, and that way they don't get back in there. Sometimes you have to build up your layers just a little bit too. If they're real deep, you want to kind of build them up just a tad. I'm also going to wipe it with a cotton ball. And see, that still picks up that stuff up on top. If you do your white, keep that separate from your other colors on your cotton ball, but just kind of clean that all up nice and clean. Nice and pretty that way. This guy right here should be red. He's down far enough, he's not blue. We don't want to pick him up just a little bit. Clean everything up. Smooth out any of the wax that needs to be smoothed out. Okay, I think we're looking pretty good. Saw one section that doesn't seem to be red. Make sure that you don't have any glue left on your stones. That's what that part is. That's why it's kind of getting yucky. And if you do, just take your little hobby knife, and that's what that is too, is glue. And you can see, because it's not nice and smooth, remove that off the top of it. So any part like that that was still left with your glue, you remove that. Get that, all the other parts of it off. Make sure you don't have anything left on there. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to start to add our finish to our piece here. And we're going to be using our Mod Podge Dimensional Magic. And this is a very strong finish. It's a hard finish. They use it for scrapbooking and glass and jewelry. So it's made to go on really thick. So we want to make sure that we put this on nice and thick. And we're going to put ours on in layers because we're not working with a smooth surface. So I would recommend at least 3 to 5 different layers. And Of course, we're not flat, so we're going to have to move it around with our brush, but it's better to have too much than not enough. We don't want enough on here that's running off our edges. And before we put it on, we're going to make sure that we remove the wax from the edges. And you notice my edges are black. I usually do not paint it. Just the piece I had been painted prior to this. I usually wait till after I put my finish on. So we're going to move all that. Make sure you're up underneath your stones, but don't remove any from the sides. Okay, so let's put this on, and we're going to start and do a little bit of work around the edge because we want to make sure that we kind of get our seal around the edge first. It's already got some dripping off here. So get it into your brush and then come and bring that over the edge just a little bit all the way around and make sure you got that sealed. And then we're going to put a nice thick coat on that. If you can see your brush strokes, you're not doing it thick enough, and our brush is just kind of to move it around this piece. So we're just going to move it. Okay, I'm going to apply 3 to 5 coats. So I'm going to apply my other coats, and then I'm going to let the last one dry for 3 hours, and then we'll come back and we'll finish this up. Alright, now that we've put all of our layers of our finish on and it has dried completely for at least 3 hours, we're going to go ahead and finish up our necklace. And I use Tacky's glue, Aileen's Tacky's glue, and we do have this little sample size, which is nice. But if you ever notice, a lot of times when I'm working with them, I always have the glue on the side. That is so it's right there and I don't have to meet the air bubbles to get the glue out. So we're going to put our hanger right here where our flag comes right in the middle. So I'm going to put a little bit of tacky glue down first. And if you didn't see the other shell necklace video, jump over and see that one. That's also a good one that covers a lot. Make sure we got everything. Now I'm using a piece of suede, and this suede is not real thick. That way I can poke my awl through it. And that is real important. I don't like the real thick pieces. Actually, the kind of flimsier they look, the better they seem to work for me. So I'm going to take this and put it on the side. I'm going to take my awl and I'm going to poke a hole about 1/4 of an inch down. And the reason we're going to do that is we're going to put in a sequin pin to hold it in place. Now don't try any other thing, a regular straight pin, any type of different nails. I've tried all of that kind of stuff and that ends up breaking your gourd. And I usually keep my finger in place so I know right where my hole is. I may have to punch it again because I'm not quite finding it. I usually hold my finger right in place so I know right where it goes. So let's do that again. I hold my finger there. I poke my hole, and please know that some gourd shards are thicker and harder than others. Some are thick and soft. So now we put that pin in, and I use my thimble and I push it in. Now if you bend your straight pin, pushing it straight in, you don't want it to curve to the side, then just take that straight out with your pliers. Don't even try to finish going in. And I'm just going to tap it in just a little bit. And then I'm going to go ahead and glue it all the way around. And just enough to anchor that nice and good. Don't want too much glue. And another thing I not sure if I talked about is painting it all black, and I should have painted it all black before I got to this step. The sides I forgot were painted black and the back was not. So before you do this step, paint the sides and the back with your black acrylic paint. Don't put a sealer on it because you don't want a sealer on it so the glue will stick real good to it. Now I'm going to put that on. A lot of times when you're doing, and then I pull it kind of tight, but the glue will come out, and that's okay. Just wipe it off, let it dry. It's going to dry clear on you. It's not a big deal. And I bring it towards the front, so it's on the front of my gourd shard, so it looks nice and complete. You could use another color if you wanted to. Now I'm going to bump up right against that other piece and put my nail, my pin right into that one. Again, I moved my finger out on it and I shouldn't have. Especially with black, it's hard to find your holes if you do that. We're just going to do it again. Put my fingernail right there so I know where that hole is. And I moved my finger again. Shame on me. There it is. And push that straight in. Make sure you don't want to go at an angle because you don't want to come through the front of your gourd. Now you want to make sure that these leather pieces are touching, because that's going to give an anchor to your screw eye. And I'm going to cut that off with the scissors. Make sure you don't want to leave that gap, and that helps anchor that screw eye in so it does not come out easily. You also could put a dab of E6000 on it as you were putting it in, but I'm going to poke a hole right between those leather pieces, and you're actually in the leather. And because we put the pins here, it keeps the leather in place, or the suede, excuse me, as you're turning your screw eye. And I believe this is 7/16. It's the smallest one I can find. And we're going to screw that right in. Now if you didn't have the pins in here, your suede pieces would be moving on you. You want to get that nice and tight. You don't want to strip it though either. So now we're going to put our necklace part on. And we've got a jump ring. And we're going to take our necklace. And I'm going to pull this back, get it in, decide on which side you want your clasp to be, and close it back up. Now you want this really nice and tight, so if you need to squish it the other direction to make sure it's tight, and you want a jump ring that doesn't wiggle too much on you as well, doesn't move around a lot. So see the difference between the two different, these got a little bit closer together stripes, and these stripes are a little bit fatter and farther apart, and I really think I do like that one better. But I think that's a wonderful 4th of July necklace, and we do have kits available to make this simple for you, because it's so much more expensive if you run out and try to buy all of the items yourself. It gets real expensive. That way we can make it practical for you. So if you have any questions about this project, please email me at art@miriamjoy.com. Come over to YouTube. You can subscribe and join our YouTube videos, and you'll get first notification that there is a new video out, and have lots of fun with me. Thank you for taking time to share with me. Have a wonderful 4th of July. God bless.